I hate the fact that you said we're getting old because, I mean, it's true. Your tip in, which is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic play in Gonzaga history, if you can believe it, it's almost 20 years old now, or it is 20 years old.
Yeah.
And if we can kind of rewind back to that day, that play, that game, was there messages in that in the different timeouts kind of leading up to the end of the game where you can remember back? Was Coach Few and Coach Monson saying, hey, crash the glass, we got to get to the glass? Or what was your thought process when Quentin Hall penetrated on that possession?
The timeout before that, I was sure Matt or Q was going to take that shot, or possibly Richie, but I couldn't see Quentin or Matt passing it up once they had it. Those guys were great finishers. They loved the moment. Both of them wanted that, So I figured whichever one of them had the ball, I better get to crashing the glass. And Munson actually gave specific instructions, like get the rebound or get a foul trying to get it. Don't waste any time. So for me, I was just like, all right, well, I'm going in hard.
Well, you mentioned either Quentin or Matt was going to shoot it, and you felt that same way. Fast forward 2 years, and it's my junior year, your senior year, first round of the NCAA tournament. It's the same thing. I was not going to pass the ball against Virginia. You didn't get a tip in like with 3 seconds, but you got a rebound, and you put back with about 8 seconds. So you've got 2 of maybe the 3 most iconic shots in GU history. That and the game Jordan Matthews hit to get Gonzaga to the first Final Four. You look at those memories, NCAA tournament, both your sophomore year where you had the tip against Florida, and then the junior year and your senior year. Everyone thinks Elite Eight was probably the one that stands out, and it may be. But is there another memory or an experience in that 3-year stretch of NCAA tournament games that stands out?
We first won the West Coast Conference tournament, and we were heading to our first NCAA tournament. That was a big goal accomplished in my life and in Gonzaga basketball history. Right, it was our second trip ever, and we were on the floor. Even though we had won league, we had to go win it, on some California school's floor. And I think
they never made it fair, did they?
They never made it fair. It was an uphill battle, right? A bunch of savages. But I remember we won that game. I think Santangelo had a huge game that day. And I remember my father made it out with all the Gonzaga fans. And, I had my arms wrapped around my dad, and we were just surrounded by Gonzaga people, on the enemy's floor celebrating an NCAA tournament bid. That's one of the most sweet moments to me. I mean, the Florida tip-in was amazing. When we got to continue senior year after Virginia, we didn't have to go home right away. I mean, that was fantastic. But just that first moment, sharing it with my dad, knowing that we had accomplished the first step of what we had set out to do at Gonzaga, that was remarkable for me. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's tremendous. You mentioned your dad. And we talked about your competitive spirit and that kind of stare down that you have. Is he who you got your competitiveness from, or where did you get that?
I think both my parents. My dad went to Idaho State, and he was a track and basketball guy. I just finished doing only track. But my mom is an unbelievable athlete and a fantastic competitor, and quite the alpha, and seems to dominate situations. So my mother has that as well. I don't know what combination of that gave me the gift and the curse of competition being what it is to me and to my family, but it's in there somewhere.
So you played after Gonzaga, you played 7-8 years professionally all over the world. You played in the CBA, which is now the G League. You played in Australia, you played Japan, France, Spain, some really good leagues. I had Coach Few on my other podcast called The ISO, and he has said, not just to me on that, but on other occasions that I've heard him, he has said that you're the one Gonzaga player that he feels the NBA missed on. Is that a prideful thing? Does that give you a lot of pride in hearing that comment? Does that give you frustration that the NBA didn't give you a full look, or what does that make you think?
Well, certainly I was frustrated at the time, just because, I didn't get invited to Chicago draft camp. and I felt like with the career that I had, I at least deserved to get like a run at it, you know. But the NBA wasn't really shopping for stretch fours, you know, who block shots and run the floor. It's like everything they're looking for now, right? It's great. But back then, you know, you needed to be 6'11" to be a four in the NBA. So I really appreciate, you know, Coach Few saying that and feeling like I would have been successful at that level. I feel like if I would have got a shot and could have got out there and could have competed, then I, you know, could have competed at that level based upon my friends who did go on and play at that level. But at the same time, it taught me a lot of things. Being rejected by the NBA, it makes you figure out like, okay, I'm not going to be able to like feed my family the rest of my life with basketball and with my athleticism, like maybe my expectation was a couple of years ago early in life. And so I have to do it with my mind, and I have to do it in business. So, you know, would I change things and be able to go back and get drafted and play in the NBA? Yes, for sure. I would. Everybody would do that. But having, you know, been rejected and taking that alternate route, it taught me things in business and made me hungry and made me value my money and reinvest it and made me into what I am today, which is, you know, a happy person and a good businessman and a good father.
Tremendous answer. And I'm right there with Coach Few. I mean, because, and I say this because not only are we friends, but we were teammates from high school, and I saw your development when I went to UW and you were at Gonzaga, and I was like, holy cow, he's exponentially getting better, as was Richie, as was Matt Santangelo. I was jealous. I wanted to be a part of that exponential individual development as well as being a part of a up and coming program. That's where I decided to make the change. And I loved having you as a teammate. I loved seeing that trajectory. I loved that answer.